Good morning, everyone. It is Wednesday, November 4th, and you are here for a TNT Google Docs training. So let me share my screen. For those of you who don't remember who I am, Virginia Bond, and we are going to do some Google Docs today. So I have out here, I'm going to go into my document that I can share with you. I'm just having a little bit of wiggle room here with my, there you go, presentation. So Google Docs, and I've included the link, which I'll be sending to you. So you should be, that's how you got into this, so it's not too tough. So let's start with the basics. The simple thing about doing Google Docs is that everything you need is in here. So it looks and functions just like Office and Word, with a few exceptions, but they're all pretty easy. So the tools all are right up here. So very, very easy to use. If you've attended any of my trainings now, you know that, or recently, you know that this is a shortcut. This right here, this docs.new, I can come up over here, and instead of going to the waffle and going to Google, going to the waffle, going to docs, going to new or blank and starting, which is like 4 or 5 clicks, I can just come up into a new tab and type in docs.new, and it automatically creates this new tab for me, which is just fabulous. I'm going to move this over. I'm going to pin this just so I have it, so I keep losing it on the edge. So my first tip for you is that when you are working with students, make a table. So let's come in here. I'm going to put like a header in here, right? So we understand, like, so this would be my title. Another quick trick is always type what you want it to be called and then push over here. You don't have to name it twice. You put the name on here and Google will recognize the first thing that you want it. The first thing on the page is the name you want it to be called. So don't go this way to here. Do it the other way. You save time. If you title it and then click, it automatically does it. If you click here, you have to copy and paste it to here. That takes more time. So I want you to be as efficient as possible. Okay. So the next thing is really to add a table. So I can insert a table like this. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do 2 lines, or excuse me, 2 columns. Doesn't really matter how many I have. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to put name and question, name and answer. And I could put the question up here, right? So I could ask a very long, detailed question in this area. And then students could answer down below. So what I typically do is go like this. I can go in and if I want to assign them to a space, I can put it in the wrong place. I have to click in the box. I can actually assign them into this space. Bobby, Susie, Joey, right? Or if they're older and they feel like, and you feel like they can handle it, they can come in and put their names in their own space. With younger students, I like to put the names in. It's much easier as they type. So as Susie types in here and her space gets longer and longer, right? She gives me this long detailed answer. Boy, that's some fantastic typing today. You'll see that it moves. So it's going to self-adjust. Students will get used to that, but getting them in their own space is very, very helpful. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is to really look at the version history. So the way that we get to version history is we come into File, and you'll see that it sits right here. So I'm going to look at the version history of this document itself, and I'm going to see version history. So when I come in here, you'll see that I made the document yesterday, and what I actually did is I copied it. If I come in here, I started with a blank document, and I came into this document and I put information here. I had the little mail thing from yesterday, and you'll see what I did. I copied and pasted some pieces in, right? So it shows what I did. So this isn't a ton of history, but if we look at some of the other documents that are out there, you can see who made what changes when. What's important about that is if you are doing a shared document with multiple people and they're signed in by email, you are able to track who makes the changes within the document. So that really does help deal with cheating, deal with students taking out other people's work. And I'm really honest with kids about what I can see. And I think it's very valuable. It also helps you see, even with your peers, who made what changes. All right, so then let's talk about commenting. I think it's underused by most people. As a teacher, if I was teaching in a classroom with my students, I'd probably never edit their documents again. I would only ever comment. That would keep the information. They would be in charge of their own information. I would be making recommendations. So this is how it works. You highlight it like this, and you click that little box like there, and I click comment. And you'll see it comes over here, and I can write a comment. So maybe I'm just saying, perhaps change this wording. I could also say to students, check spelling. That's another really good one, right? You could highlight a certain word, check spelling. If you have a document that you've used in the past with your students, you could actually link the document here. So that's the first thing, comment. The other thing you can do, which you really, really like, so I'm going to click the same thing, comment. I can use the plus sign, and you'll notice that emails all of a sudden populate in here. So this is a way for me to send a comment directly to one person, especially if multiple people are working on a document. That's very helpful. So my teammates and my boss, we all work on some common documents that we collaborate on, and we may need to ask a question. So instead of an email, which they will get, we actually use this feature of the plus sign, which turns into an @ It is called direct commenting, and it assigns it directly to one person. And you'll notice it sends an email. I love that. I also use it to myself at times. I might be in the middle of a presentation, I find a mistake, and I'll come over and comment, and I'll do this. It'll send me an email and remind me to fix the mistake. So I just feel like this is a great way to do it, and you can really delineate where those comments are going to go to certain people. Okay, so the next one, like using headers. So let me go into a document that I actually used yesterday. And actually, I'm going to search for the document. It is a Word document. It is not a Word document. It is a document. It's a doc. I'm going to go into what I think is called contact hours. This is the document right here. So this is an example of a document that I created for teachers that they could use kind of as a one-stop shop for teachers to make for their parents. And you'll notice I have these things down the side. So let's pop out. This is what it looks like in view. And this is called like an outline. So if I click on the outline, this is what it does. It gives me like the ability to navigate through the document. It's interactive outline. I like to call this like an interactive table of contents. So if I'm looking for the troubleshooting guide and I click, it's down here, which really isn't here. Or if I go back up to the online classroom space, it's here. If I want to go back to the top, it's there. So you can see it navigates through the document. So how do I do this? It's this magic voodoo that I do. It really isn't. When you come in here and you make a title like this, so you'll see I highlight that, and I come up here into the section, it's typically set as normal text, and it looks like that. The minute I turned it into heading text, it will become large and it'll make this piece right there. And then down here, I could have a resources. Like if I wanted to have a resources doc, resources, I could highlight that, click heading 1, and it will come here. I can use the other headings as well. They're like subheadings, they'll get smaller. You can also change the font because you notice it does change the font. You can come back in and you can fix this. But what this does, this allows your students to students and you to easily navigate a document. I like to use this for agendas where you put the most recent on the top. And when I do that, it allows us to be able to search through the document, find the meeting we were looking for. So all our meetings in one doc, and then we can navigate through by the dates on the side. To me, it's much easier, which is really my next example here, agendas for an entire year. So we have a team meeting once a week. And what I do is I created this one document and I just put the newest information on the top and I put the date right on top. And after it, I put who attended. and all I do is highlight it, give it a header 1, it pops to the top of the list, but then I have like this running set of notes, and I don't have to go find 6 or 7 different agendas to find it. It makes it much easier, and I can find all the notes in case I miss it. My hope is that at least someone else takes notes if I can't happen to be there. Okay, so the next tip is really use documents collaboratively, because that's going to just, number one, save you time. If your students are working on a project together, allow them to work on a document together. So there are 2 ways to share docs. Actually, there's 2 ways to share any Google app component. So a doc, a slide, a sheet. We're going to come up to share. And when we come up here, I'm going to come out, and you'll see this is the default level when you first come in. So I'm just working in the sharing. Only people added can open the link. So I'm going to close that for once and come back to it. What does that mean? That means only people that I type in their names can see the link, can open it. Why is that important? If I want to be able to see who is working on the document, as in be able to trace it through version history, I need to add people in by link. So if I don't care and I want anybody to be able to have the link and to be able to work in it, I open it up as edit, and anyone on the internet with this link can edit. So basically, I'm trusting all of you, if you want one of these, to make your own copy and run with it. But so when we send a document by link, so anyone with the link, basically all the little circles will pop up here, and it'll be anonymous, like anonymous shrew, anonymous capybara, anonymous giraffe, right? When I share by email, I'm actually able to see who is in the document. So I think it's important to understand the difference between those 2. If you want anonymous responses, you send by link. If you want to know who the people are making the changes, you send by email. And when you send by email, you are in much more control of who has the document. If you only want 3 people sharing the document, send it to them by email, because they can't send it to other people. I think that's important to know. Okay, next one. Use the Explore tool to research. So the Explore tool comes down here. It's this little thing, and you hover over it, right? And it pops out Explore. So the way I like to teach this tool is that some people say it looks like a little star, right? I actually like to explain that it looks like curtains, so that we're going to peek out through the curtains. We're going to go explore what's outside. So as soon as I come over here and I type in, let's say I'm going to look for copy. Ooh, I got all excited and I typed a little too fast, you guys. I'm going to look for copyright. I have had an issue with that lately, that it will automatically pop out right like that, and I'm not sure why. So I'm going to click copyright, and I really got excited. You'll notice I get web, images, and drive, but I can come and do some basic research, some basic starter research in here, right? As soon as I click on something, it is going to take me out to the internet, but it's driven from there. So that's the first thing. The other thing that the Explore tool does is when I come over into images, it allows me to pull images in this way. So I can actually pull any kind of image, not any kind. I can pull images in that are labeled for reuse and modification. So if you're worried about copyright with your students, which is why I chose copyright, this is the way to do the research. You'll also notice as soon as I clicked on that, all of these images are linked. So if your students have a hard time remembering where they got their images, if they pull it out of the Explore tool, they will be linked and they'll be able to trace them back for bibliography purposes. Okay, tip number 8, make sure that your student, another way, it's not make sure, another thing that your students can do is they can create the documents themselves. So like up here, I created a document, pretend I'm a student, and I actually have the ability, you can teach your students how to share the document back to you. I think that is really valuable especially as our students get older. We don't necessarily need to continually create the documents and share it with them. I think when students start to get in the 5th, 6th, 7th grade, and sometimes even younger, they can share documents. I have seen kindergarten students share documents because they're taught how, and they share them to their parents. What a great way to have a window into what your student is doing. And it really does teach the process of who do I share with? Why do I share it with them? Should I be sharing everything with all of them? No, not all the time. But this is also a great way to teach digital citizenship with our students in a real life experience. Okay, the next one, change your margin size. You'll notice that in my documents, all of them, I have them all the way out to the edge almost. So I come into File, yep, like, whoop, I'm really having issues today. File, and it's page setup. And I have set all of my documents at 0.5. Why do I do that? Well, quite honestly, why do we have 1-inch borders? I don't know. It was a given. I have always used 0.5. I get more information on my page, and I'm not usually printing these. So I'm talking about digital space. I don't need all that space around the sides. I think it's better to use less space and have it more compact. Also, what's in here is you can change page color. I have a colleague who works in multiple schools, and her school color, she uses the page, the color page color, to delineate between the two buildings. And I really like that. It's simple. It's also good for students with disability. If they read better with blue on yellow or yellow on blue, you can default that in there. So you can make that your default, your page color and your margin size. So that does really help. I like that a lot. So all my documents are at 0.5 for margins, top, bottom, right, and left. Okay, there is no save as. Now we have covered this before, but I want to make sure we understand that in a Word document or in any Office product, you can go to File, Save As. And if I comment up in here, you'll notice no File, Save As. It just doesn't exist. So what we do have is we have make a copy and then rename. And this is how I want to challenge you to that. If you think about it like going to the copier, we always have an original, right? We have an original document that we walk to the copier, we stick it in, and we make a copy. This is the same exact thing. So think about it like that. If you just rename the document that you're using, you'll lose it. Could you walk it back in version history? Yes, but you'll lose the new one that you had. So it's better to make a copy and make the revisions or the changes on the new one. Thinking about this from year to year, you know, reusing a document so you don't have student work in there, checking to make sure that you haven't edited anything. Those things are all important. And when you start with a make a copy, rename, you get a brand new rendition of the document. So I think that is very important. All right, so the last tip that I will give you today is that one of the things that I like to do, which I think is the most beneficial, is there's two ways to create documents. I showed you the first one, which was I go to Docs, I open a new chat up, I open a new, not a new chat, I don't know where that came from. I open a new slide, tab up, and I type in their docs.new. So as soon as I create it, it's like, okay, I've made it. So this is my new document, right? I title it. That is like habit for me. I make it, I name it, I click up there, so it actually titles it. Okay, now I'm all done, right? Except I want to put it somewhere. It defaults to in my drive. So I will do this. I will come here and I will automatically put it away. That is Virginia Bond habit. I have done it for years because it makes my life much more organized than if I just leave it in my drive and I can't find it. So I come in here and I'm going to navigate it right into the folder I want it It's that one. That's where I want it. I'm going to move it. I'm going to put it there. Now, if I am in the folder on my drive, so if I come into my drive right here and I decide, I'm going to put it in the folder I'm working in right now. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go to 81. That's today's training. I'm going to pop into 81. I can then make the document right in here and it'll give me a message. Do you want to create it in the same folder? For the created item will be shared to the same people as a selected folder. Yeah, typically that's what I want. What that does, this gives you the organizational structure that you want. I can't spell today, right? And why is that important? Because every second we save in time like that is going to just make us more efficient. So those are my tips for today. Pretty easy today. This is a short one. I always feel like Google Docs is much easier. It's not the big stuff like how to color your text or how to, any of that. These are the tools and the tips that are going to make your life a little easier. I hope that that's helpful. Shorter session today, yay, than some of the others some of you have been taking. I hope you have a great day. I'll be sending this out in a few minutes and I will see you soon.